Hey guys, close your eyes for a second. You're 18 years old. No armour, no body armour, no helmet. Just a wool coat, a leather strap and a rifle that misfires if you look at it wrong. Your boots don't fit, your socks are damp. You haven't seen a bathtub in 6 weeks. Your last meal was a piece of dry bread and whatever you could scavenge off a dead man's pack. You're standing in a muddy field in Virginia. There's fog in the trees and blood in the soil. The man next to you is coughing up something dark. You don't ask. You don't want to know. There's a shout. Then a drum beat. Then the long, low sound of a bugle. And suddenly you're marching. You don't know where the enemy is. You just know they're close. And that when the smoke clears, a lot of your friends won't be. This isn't a reenactment. This isn't a storybook. This is 1863. If you want more stories like this, give it a like and subscribe. It helps us keep making them. Now breathe in. You're not on your couch anymore. You're 18, holding a muzzle loader, lined up shoulder to shoulder with men just as scared as you. And in 60 seconds someone's going to shout, "Advance!" And you're going to walk straight into hell. You wake up in dirt, not on it in it. Your blanket is a wet bedroll, your pillow is your knapsack. Your mattress is a shallow impression in the cold, damp ground. You can't remember the last time you were dry. Doesn't matter. It's March, somewhere in Tennessee, maybe Georgia. You stopped keeping track after your second fever. You're 18, maybe 19, old enough to be shot, young enough to still think you might come home. Around you the camp stirs slow, miserable. Coughs, muttered curses, the scrape of tin against the bottom of an empty pot. A man 6 feet to your right groans and rolls over. You don't look. Could be sleep. Could be something else. Either way, he's not your problem until someone says he is. The sun's barely up, but the fog is already crawling in low and thick, like the trees are bleeding smoke. The air smells like wet canvas, grease and old wounds. You rub your eyes, dirt under every nail, your hands are shaking again. You sit up and check your gear. Musket still there, bayonet dull but attached, canteen empty, cartridge box lighter than you want to admit. 10 rounds maybe, 11 if you're lucky. You check anyway. 10, not lucky. Your uniform's soaked through, coat stiff with grime, trousers caked in mud up to the knee. The soles of your boots are separating from the leather. You tied them shut with fence wire 3 days ago. It held, barely. Your captain walks by, doesn't say anything, he just looks down the line, nods, moves on. He looks like he's 50, he's 27. Somewhere up the hill a bugle wails, not your side, rebel, close enough to hear, far enough to hate. One of the sergeants mutters, "Guess they're awake too." Someone else says, "Then we ain't got long." You stand, legs cramp, your lower back screams, your knees don't want to lock straight. You force them. You fall in line a half row of half-starved boys in half-rotted uniforms. You look left, you look right. No one looks good, no one looks ready. But you're all here, that's something. Harris. Yeah, he's here too. Somehow. Hair matted, chin nicked with old blood. He nods at you like this is just another bad day at work. His musket slung across his back like he's daring the enemy to shoot him in it. You admire the optimism. A corporal shouts, "Company 10 hut." You try, everyone tries, some manage, some don't. The line's crooked, the formation sloppy, but no one's in the mood to fix it. It's not like straight lines stop bullets anyway. Then the captain speaks. Orders came down last night. We're advancing east, across the ridge, through the creek, past the split rail fence. There's a Confederate line dug in somewhere near the tree line. You'll know it when you hear it. You don't ask how far. You don't ask what support is coming. You don't ask anything. You just nod like always, because pretending to understand is easier than admitting no one does. Someone behind you whispers, "Ain't no maps out here, just corpses and guesses." He's not wrong. You're told to eat. You reach into your haversack, 1 biscuit. 1. It's hard enough to chip a tooth. You dunk it in your canteen, still empty. You chew it anyway, dry, tasteless. You chew because chewing keeps your jaw moving, keeps your brain busy. After breakfast, it's time to march, which really means time to limp, stumble, drag, and pretend your boots still have tread. You fall into column, bayonets fixed, rifles slung. Your shoulder already aches from the weight. Every fourth step feels like someone's jabbing a nail into your spine. The road ahead is mud, just endless, clinging mud. You hear it more than see it, the soft, sucking sound of boots being swallowed. Someone slips, falls face first, doesn't get up right away, no one stops. The line just keeps moving. You pass dead horses, 3 of them, bloated, flies thick enough to hear, a buzz that feels like a warning. You pass a wagon shattered, wheel split, axle cracked. The driver's still there, slumped sideways, hat pulled low. You don't check if he's breathing, you already know. Up ahead, the sergeant holds up a fist. Stop. The column slows, ripples to a halt. You crouch instinctively, not taught learned. You hear something. Not shouting, not gunfire. Something worse. The steady mechanical crack of rifles firing in rhythm. You recognise the sound. Volley fire. Not yours. There's another line out there, not far, and they're shooting at someone. Then the sound of boots running, not toward you, away, dozens of them. A group of men, blue coats, wild eyes, panting, sprint out of the woods and collapse into the road. One of them grabs a tree and pukes. The sergeant shouts, "Where's your company?" The man just shakes his head. Gone. Your mouth goes dry. The captain turns. Form up, double line, fix bayonets. Someone whispers, "Already did." You check your weapon again, primed, loaded. You whisper to it like it can hear you. Don't jam, not today. Then in the distance, a whistle, then another, and then advance. You move. Not quickly, not eagerly, just forward. You're walking uphill now, into trees, into fog, into sound. The smoke is thick, white, bitter, choking. You can't see the men ahead of you. You can barely see the feet in front of you, but you hear them, breathing, cursing, coughing, and gunfire, close, loud, immediate. Someone ahead screams. You flinch. Your whole body wants to dive, to crawl, to vanish. But the line keeps moving. You move with it. You raise your musket, sight into smoke, fire. You don't know if you hit anything, doesn't matter, you reload. It takes time, too much time. Pour powder, ram the ball, seat the charge, prime the pan. Every step feels like a countdown. Around you, men are dropping, some forward, some backward. Some just crumple, like the life inside them gave up faster than the body could follow. You fire again, miss, reload again. Then someone shouts, "Bayonets!" And you realise the nightmare just got worse. Because now it's close. Now it's not about muskets or powder or distance. Now it's about eyes and screams and steel. You lower your musket and run. Not fast, not clean, but enough. You charge. And that's when it happens. A flash of grey, a blur, a face inches from yours. Then the sound, not a gunshot, not a scream, a crack. Your shoulder explodes in pain. You don't remember falling, but you're on the ground. Someone trips over you. Someone else shouts. A bayonet plunges into the dirt inches from your face. You roll, you crawl, you're still alive. Barely. You hear someone shouting your name. You think it's Harris. You think you answer. You're not sure. The smoke is everywhere. The trees are on fire. Or maybe it's just your lungs. You try to stand. Your leg won't cooperate. You crawl to stump. Press your back to it. Breathe. Someone falls beside you, gasping, bleeding, young. You don't ask his name. He doesn't offer it. You just sit there together, waiting for the next volley. And that's how 1863 welcomes you. Not with speeches, not with flags, with mud, blood, and the realization that the day's just begun. You can't hear anything, not at first, just a low hum in your ears like bees, or static, or maybe the sound your skull makes when it's deciding whether to keep going or shut the whole system down. You blink. Once, twice. Everything's blurry. Your face is against the dirt again. You're getting to know it well. You taste iron and ashes. Something hot trickles down your cheek. You wipe it with your sleeve. Your arm protests. Your ribs protest louder. You're not dead. Not yet. But that's starting to feel like a technicality. You roll over slowly. The world swims. Your musket's nearby, stuck halfway into the mud. Still loaded? Maybe. You don't check yet. You're too busy trying to breathe. The air's thick. Not with fog anymore. With smoke. A wall of it. Choking, stinging, clinging to your lungs like wet wool. You cough once. It feels like your lungs are trying to leave without you. And then you hear it. Gunfire. Close. Constant. Sharp. Not a single shot. Not even a volley. Just dozens of rifles cracking over and over like someone snapping boards in half with their bare hands. You sit up slowly, carefully. Every part of your body feels like it was personally insulted by gravity. You're surrounded by chaos. Men stumbling through the haze. Some firing blindly into the trees. Some reloading with shaking hands. Some screaming. And the ground? The ground's covered in more than just leaves and mud. Boots, rifles, hats. Limbs. A man crawls past you on all fours, blood pouring from his shoulder like someone opened a faucet. He doesn't look at you. You don't look back, because this is the moment where everything clicks, where the fantasy dies, where the posters and the speeches and the songs all fade into what this really is. Slaughter. You grip your musket. Still wet, still filthy, but functional. You check the pan, still primed. You aim into the smoke. You fire. The recoil slams into your shoulder. You don't even feel it anymore. You reload fast. Muscle memory takes over. Powder, ball, ramrod, cap. You're getting better. And that's the most horrifying part. Something crashes through the brush to your left. You turn, raise your rifle like a club. It's Harris. Pale, eyes wide. Blood on his jacket. He's breathing like a bellows. Forming up left, he shouts. We're pushing. You nod. Not because you understand, just because you're still here. You stumble to your feet. The world tilts. You ignore it. The line's reforming behind a fallen tree. About 8 men, maybe 10. Most you don't recognise. A few you wish you didn't. One of them, a kid with freckles and a torn ear, looks like he aged 10 years since sunrise. The sergeant's there too, waving his sword like it means something. He's yelling words that barely cut through the noise. Hold here, fire on command. You line up, shoulder to shoulder. Again, there's movement in the smoke. Figures. Grey, close, closer than you want. Fire. You shoot. They shoot back. A man next to you jerks, falls sideways. Doesn't make a sound. Your fingers are already reloading. Fast, efficient, soulless. This is the rhythm now. Fire, reload. Fire, reload. Fire, reload. Your shoulders bruised, your palms are raw, your eyes sting from the smoke, your ears ring from the blasts, and through it all there's this one constant thing, the smell. Burnt powder, charcoal and sulphur, rotting meat, wet wool, and blood. So much blood. You've stopped seeing red as a colour. It's a language now. It tells you where not to step, where not to look. It's on your hands, your face, your weapon. You don't know where it came from. You don't ask. The rebels charge again, bayonets fixed, screaming like ghosts. You fire once more. Then there's no time. Your sergeant bellows, "Melee." And then it's chaos. Men colliding, screaming, grappling in the smoke. No aim, no tactics, just survival. You jam your bayonet forward, it catches something. Someone. You don't look. Someone grabs your collar. You spin, slam your musket butt into their face. Teeth crack. They drop. Someone else swings a sabre, misses your head by inches. You duck. Ram your shoulder into their gut. Your rifle slips from your hands. You fall backward. Boots stomp past your face. A musket fires a foot from your ear. Everything goes white. You don't move for a full minute. Can't. Then a hand grabs your coat and yanks. It's Harris again. You good? You nod. Lie. Stand. The smoke is starting to clear. And now you see it. The field. What's left of it. Bodies everywhere. Most don't move. The Confederates are pulling back. Your line holds barely. You stand there, breathing like a dying dog, musket shaking in your grip. The sergeant wipes his blade on a torn flag. Doesn't speak. No one does. Because what could you possibly say? You reload your rifle, slowly this time, deliberately. Because the worst part? This was one engagement. One ridge. One charge. There's another one waiting in 2 hours. Another line. Another fog. Another chance to die screaming. Your boots squelch as you take a step. You look down. Not at what you're stepping on, you already know. You're soaked up to the knee in blood and creek water and things you don't want to name. And still, you walk. Because there's no stopping, no resting. Not here. Here, your boots aren't just footwear. They're coffins with souls, and every step forward is a gamble against the grave. You're not marching. You're surviving forward. Your feet don't move, they drag. Your boots are soaked. The left one leaks, the right one bites your heel like it's punishing you for each step. You don't remember what dry socks feel like. You're not sure if you even have socks anymore. The order came at sunrise. Pack up, move out 20 miles east. That's it. No explanation, no rest, no food. Just go. The officers ride horses. You don't. You walk, and walk, and walk. Through mud, through frost, through places not worth remembering. Every step grinds something inside you a little smaller. Your musket digs into your shoulder. Your haversack bangs against your hip with every step. You tied your canteen on tighter this morning. Still hits your thigh like a hammer wrapped in tin. You tried switching sides. Didn't help. The guy next to you, McCleary or maybe it's McCallum, hasn't spoken in 2 hours. He's just staring at the road ahead like if he stops, it'll vanish and swallow him whole. You pass a farm, what's left of one. Charred roof, shot out windows, smoke curling up from somewhere behind the barn. You don't stop. The road narrows. Trees lean in. The sun climbs higher, then gives up and hides behind the clouds again. You wipe your forehead with a sleeve. It comes back streaked with ash. You try not to think about what kind. Your canteen's half full. You sip carefully. Warm water. Tastes like rust and regret. You stopped caring. It's wet. That's all that matters. The column ahead of you slows. You brace for orders. Nothing comes. It's just a hill. You groan, out loud. Don't care who hears. Your knees are locking up. Your ankles are soft. Your thighs feel like they're filled with lead shot. You push uphill anyway. You count the steps. 10. 20. 30. 40 weight. Was that 30 again? You lose track. Doesn't matter. Just one more, then one more, then again. At the top you stop for breath. You shouldn't have, because stopping is worse than walking. Your legs start to seize up. Your back spasms. Your feet scream. You look down and see blood soaking through the back of your boot. Blister. Again. You don't even check how bad it is. You just grit your teeth and move. Behind you, someone collapses. Not a dramatic fall, just knees buckle, body folds, crumples. No one helps. Because if you stop for him, you might not start again. And the column? It keeps moving. You try not to think about that. Try not to think about what that means for you if your knees give out next. Because out here, mercy is a luxury. And luxuries get left behind. Around noon, someone mutters, "Break soon." They say it like a prayer. You check the sun, mid-sky, dim, grey light filtering through the clouds like it's a shame to be here. You keep moving. You step wrong ankle rolls, you yelp, bite down on your tongue. Taste blood. Good. Means you're awake. Ahead, the captain waves you left off the main road. A narrow trail, barely a path. You hear someone say, "Shortcut." You say nothing. You know better. Shortcuts in this war. They're just longer roads that hurt more. The trail narrows again. Trees close in. Branches claw your face. Thorns tug your coat. You duck, trip, catch yourself. Harris stumbles past you. "You good?" he mutters. You nod, lie, again. You come to a creek. Wide, shallow, cold. No bridge. You cross anyway. Boots sink. Water pours in. Socks squish. You shiver. The cold climbs fast, ankles to knees to thighs. You push through, teeth chattering, jaw clenched. On the other side, you climb a slope of slick red mud. You grab roots, they tear out. You claw dirt, your nails split. You slip once, twice make it. Barely. At the top you stop. Not by choice. Just out of spite. Your legs hate you. Your back's locked up. Your gear feels like it doubled in weight somewhere between mile 6 and 7. The corporal shouts, 2-minute rest. You collapse onto a log. That's when it hits you. The smell. Not of gunpowder. Not this time. Rot. Wet rot. Sweet and sick. You glance left. See it. A shallow grave. Half covered. Half spilled. One hand sticking out of the dirt like it's still asking for help. You look away. Close your eyes. Breathe through your mouth. Someone next to you lights a pipe. The smoke's familiar. Comforting, somehow. You don't ask for a puff. You might never get up if you sit too deep. 2 minutes pass. On your feet. You groan, stand, groan again. Your knees almost give. You slap them. Doesn't help. You march anyway. You cross another field. This one still has fences, mostly. You pass a cow skeleton. Bleached white. Bullet holes in the skull. Even the animals didn't make it. At the edge of the field, the captain holds up a hand. Hold up. You stop, sway, try to stay upright. He points at the tree line ahead. Scouts say Rebs pulled back this morning. We're camping here tonight. No one cheers, no one claps. You just let out a breath you didn't realise you were holding. You unsling your pack. Drop it. It hits the ground with a wet thunk. You stretch your arms, they don't respond. You drop to your knees and start digging your sleeping spot. Not a tent, not a bunk, just a shallow scrape in the ground. Enough to keep the rain from pooling under your spine. The shovel blisters your hands. You curse it, quietly. Then you lay out your blanket, sit on it. Slump. Someone tosses you a biscuit. You catch it. Eat it without thinking. No taste, no joy, just fuel. You sip the last of your canteen, make a mental note to refill it, then forget the note entirely. Night's falling. Fast. You roll onto your back, stare up at the sky. No stars, just clouds, just grey. Your boots are off. Your feet are ruined, blisters popped, toes blackened, skin peeling. You don't care. You're too tired. You whisper, "How the hell do we do this again tomorrow?" And the wind answers back, "You don't. You just start walking." You're not hungry. You're starving. But not the dramatic kind. Not the fall to your knees and cry kind. This is quieter. A slow, dull gnaw that never stops. Like something hollow is living inside you now. It's morning, maybe. Could be afternoon. Could be last Tuesday. Time doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is what's in your haversack. You open it. Hope dies again. One hardtack biscuit. Cracked. Mouldy around the edges. You scrape the green spots off with a knife you haven't cleaned in a week. You tell yourself it's still good. You have no choice. You bite down. Your teeth hate you. Hardtack isn't food. It's a punishment baked into shape. You chew slowly. Not because you want to savour it, but because it might be the only thing you eat today. Next to you, Harris is staring into his tin cup. He shakes it. One bean rolls around inside, just one. "Bean soup," he mutters. You both laugh. Kind of. Someone 2 fires down is boiling bark. Not as a joke, as a plan. You finish chewing, swallow. Drink a sip from your canteen to chase it. The water tastes like whatever metal died inside the canteen last week. Still drink it. You've learned to lower your standards. You had no choice. A sergeant walks by, drops a cloth sack in the dirt. "Rations," he says. You look inside. It's a joke. A strip of bacon, thin, grey, smells off. 2 more biscuits, and a bag of coffee that smells like dirt and burnt hair. You nod. Say thank you. Because that's what you do when someone throws you a lifeline made of garbage. You cook the bacon anyway, over a fire made of fence posts and desperation. It curls up in the pan like it's ashamed of itself. You eat it fast, before the rats show up. Because the rats are always watching. You've seen them, big ones. Not the city kind. The battlefield kind. Fat. Fearless. Twitchy. They don't wait. They don't run. They sit on your crate while you eat and stare at you like they're waiting for you to die so they can start dinner. One climbs over your boots last night. You didn't move. Too tired. Harris swears he saw one dragging a finger through the mud. You didn't ask whose. You try to brew the coffee. Boil water. Pour it in. Stir. It tastes like smoke, ash, and regret. You drink it anyway. Because it's warm. And warm matters. You remember letters from home, the ones that talked about pie, roast chicken, potatoes with butter. You'd kill for a potato. Not even cooked. Just not a biscuit. You remember your mother's kitchen. The smell of onions frying in butter. You shake your head. No room for nostalgia. It hurts more than the hunger. Around you, men are scraping tins, licking spoons, checking empty pouches again, like maybe the food fairy came overnight. She didn't. Someone behind you coughs up something dark. No one checks. Could be sickness, could be hunger, could be both. A guy in another regiment chewed bark so long last week his gums bled. He did it again the next day. There's a rumour someone shot a raccoon yesterday and ate it whole. You hope it's true. The rats get bolder when night falls. You hear them in the dark. Scratching, scurrying, chewing. Last night one tried to drag off a dead man's boot. Didn't care the man was still in it. You buried him in the morning. The man, not the rat. You go back to your sack. Pull out one more biscuit. This one's soft. You frown. That's not a good sign. You break it open. There it is. Weevils. Tiny, wriggling, white. You blink. Look away. Think. Then you shrug. And eat it anyway. Because out here, protein is protein. And being picky is something the dead have time for. You wash it down with one last sip. The water's warm now. Sour. Gone. You tap your canteen. Hollow. You'll fill it at the next creek. If it's not full of bodies this time, you lie back against a tree. Stomach still hollow. Eyes heavy. You hear someone vomiting behind the latrine trench. Food poisoning maybe. Or dysentery. Or just the world catching up. You don't check. The smell of bacon still clings to your fingers. You sniff it. Close your eyes. Hold on to it for just a second longer. Then a shout cuts through camp. Pack up! Moving in 10. Of course you are. You groan. Stand. Your stomach growls in protest. Too bad. You sling your gear. Shoulders sag. Mouth dry. And as you fall into line with men who look more like scarecrows than soldiers, you realise something. The enemy isn't just across the field. He's in your gut, in your boots, in every rattling breath. And every time your stomach aches, every time your hand shakes, every time you think, maybe I'll skip dinner tonight, you remember there is no dinner. Just one more biscuit, one more bite of rot, and the rat watching you eat it. You didn't want to be here, but now you're bleeding. And that changes things. It's not dramatic. Not a chest wound, not a leg blown off. Just a bullet, small, hot, mean, that tore through your bicep like it had somewhere else to be. It didn't knock you down. You stayed in the fight. Reloaded, fired, reloaded again. But now that the smoke's cleared and the adrenaline's gone, you feel it. Every pulse in your arm is a hammer blow. Your fingers twitch like they're hearing a different rhythm. You press cloth against the wound and it squishes, so now you're walking to the field hospital, and you're starting to realise you'd rather take your chances with a bullet. It's not a building. It's a tent. Barely. Canvas strung over branches. Blood pooled in the grass. A wooden table at the centre, stained so dark it looks black. Buckets. Tools. Flies. You hear screaming before you get there. Not yelling, not crying. Screaming. The deep, primal, ripping sound that cuts through the camp like a bayonet. You want to turn around. You don't. Because once you're hit, your body isn't yours anymore. It belongs to the war. A man in a blood-soaked apron waves you forward. He doesn't ask your name, doesn't ask what happened. Just looks at your arm and says, left or right-handed? Right. He nods. Good. Sit. You sit. The bench creaks beneath you. Something sticky under your palm. You don't check. Another man younger, pale, brings you a bottle. Whiskey. You take a swig. He says, more. You drink again and again. It doesn't help. The surgeon rolls up your sleeve. Tears it, actually. No time for neatness. You catch a glimpse. It's worse than you thought. The entry wound is clean. The exit, not so much. Torn skin, exposed meat, splinters of bone. He pokes it. You flinch hard. Shrapnel, he mutters. Deep, might have grazed the bone. Might not have. Hard to tell. You ask, you gonna dig it out? He looks at you. No, gonna cut it off. Your mouth goes dry. You laugh. You don't mean to. It just happens. He's not joking. You say, it's just the arm. He says, that's how it starts. You want to argue. You don't. because you've heard the stories. Wounds go bad, fast. Today it's bleeding, tomorrow it's pus, then fever, then black veins, then you're dead. So maybe losing the arm isn't the worst outcome, but it feels like it. You ask, no way to save it? He shrugs. No time, no tools, no guarantee. You don't answer. He doesn't wait. He pulls out a saw. Not a medical saw, just a saw, like you'd use on wood, because that's what you are now. A limb, a project, a salvage operation. The pale assistant brings a leather strap. You stare at it. Bite, he says. You do. Then the surgeon ties off your upper arm with a cloth soaked in something that smells like rotten vinegar. A tourniquet. He mutters, hold still. You try, and then it begins. The saw bites, through skin, through meat, through tendon. You scream into the leather. It doesn't muffle much. It takes longer than you thought it would. He has to stop once to clear the blade. Blood pours. The assistant tries to catch it in a pan. Misses. You black out. Come back. Black out again. When it's done, you slump forward. Lighter, weaker, less. Your arm's gone. The stump is wrapped. Not cleanly, just tightly. The surgeon wipes sweat from his forehead. You'll live. You don't thank him, because you're not sure it's true. You lie down in the grass. The world is sideways now. You feel cold. Not weather cold. Inside cold. Like something important just leaked out of you and isn't coming back. Around you, more men wait. Some on stretchers. Some dragging themselves forward. Some already being cut open. There are no clean tools, no anaesthetic, no antiseptic. Just sawdust, whiskey, and speed. You hear a man begging. Please don't. Please, I can walk. I can still fight. Then the saw starts again. You close your eyes. You smell gangrene now. Sweet, sick, wrong. Someone's dying. Someone else already did. You wonder if the flies know the difference. Later, a chaplain walks by. He pauses. Want me to pray with you? You shake your head. He moves on. You lie there and stare at the sky. Grey, flat, still. And you ask yourself, was the bullet really worse than this? You don't answer, because deep down you already know. The bullet was fair. It gave you a chance. This is math. Flesh versus steel. Time versus infection. Man versus inevitability. You lost. And now you'll spend the rest of the war trying to pretend that what's missing doesn't matter. But you'll always feel it. Every time you reach for your musket and grab air. Every time you tie your boots with one hand. Every time the phantom pain wakes you screaming. And the worst part? Tomorrow, someone else will take your place in the line. And when they're hit, they'll be marched here too. To this tent, to this saw, to this choice. And the doctor will look at them like he looked at you. And say, which arm? You're supposed to be able to tell. That's what they told you back home. That the good guys wore blue. The bad guys wore grey. That it'd be easy. It's not. You're on picket duty now. Perimeter watch. Standing in the tree line, musket slung, every shadow a threat. There's a farmhouse up ahead. Looks empty. Probably isn't. No flag flying, no soldiers out front, just a busted fence and laundry on the line. You were told to check it. No details, just check it, clear it, report back. So you step out of the trees. Slow, careful, every noise feels louder than it should. You pass a chicken coop, empty, a wheelbarrow full of broken tools. You see a dog, dead, flies buzzing. The front door's open. You call out. Nothing. You step inside. Smells like mildew and wood smoke. There's a table, dishes still out, bread gone hard, one chair tipped over. You take another step. The floor creaks, and then you see her. A woman, middle-aged, barefoot, holding a shotgun. She doesn't yell, doesn't move, just stands there, shaking. You raise your hands, not your rifle, your hands. You say, "Mom." She fires. The blast misses, barely. Shatters the wall behind you. Wood chips fly, your ears ring. You dive back, trip over the threshold, hit the dirt hard. You hear footsteps running, not hers, heavy boots. You scramble up, aim your musket at the door. A man bursts out. No uniform, just suspenders and blood on his sleeves. You fire. Instinct. He drops. You don't feel good about it. You check his pockets. Nothing official. No insignia. Just bullets. A knife. A letter in a child's handwriting. You check the barn next. Find 2 more inside. One's young, barely 16, dead already. The other's coughing blood. Looks up at you, reached for his belt. You see the pistol. You don't wait. You walk out of the barn slower than you went in. And suddenly you understand. This isn't war like they described. This is a knife in the dark. A shot from a window. A barn full of boys who never put on grey but still try to kill you. And it doesn't stop. You hear more stories. A courier shot in the back by a farmer. A sentry found with his throat cut, the killer dressed like a preacher. A whole company poisoned by a well outside Richmond. No lines, no flags, no rules. Just survival. So, when the captain tells you to clear another village, you do. And when someone fires from a window, you burn the house. You don't ask who lived there. You don't ask how old they were. You just reload. Because once the uniform stops being the boundary between soldier and civilian, everything becomes a target. You see a woman get dragged from a cabin after shooting a lieutenant in the stomach. She screams about her son, that you killed him last week, that this is justice. No one stops her. Or her punishment, you just look away. Because part of you agrees, and part of you's terrified she's right. Later, you're guarding a bridge. A boy approaches. 12, maybe. Dirty, barefoot, carrying a basket. He says it's bread. You tell him to stop. He doesn't. You fire a warning shot. He drops the basket. It explodes. You kill him. Afterward. You find 2 more homemade bombs in the lining of his jacket. You throw up. Harris tells you not to feel bad. Says they made him do it. You ask, does that matter? He doesn't answer. Because it doesn't. After that, you stop trusting anyone. A man in a top hat could be signalling artillery. A child with a letter could be carrying orders. A woman with laundry could have a knife in her boot. You see a drummer boy get shot by a sniper hiding in a church steeple. No one hesitates. You burn the steeple, with the sniper inside, and maybe someone else too. The rules break down quick out here. You don't patrol, you hunt. You don't knock, you kick in. You don't ask, you assume. And if you're wrong, the grave's already dug. The captain says, better an innocent man buried than another blue coat dead. You used to flinch at that. Now you just nod. And when you lie down at night, stomach hollow, nerves fried, hands stained, you stare up at the stars and wonder how many more people you'll shoot before this is over. And how many of them will be wearing nothing at all. It's heavy. Heavier than you expected when you signed up. When they handed it to you back at the depot, you thought, this'll keep me safe. But now it just feels like another burden to carry. 8 pounds of wood and iron. A muzzle loader. Single shot. black powder. If you're lucky, it fires. If you're not, it becomes a stick. You clean it every morning, or try to. A cloth, a rod, a prayer. You ram it down the barrel like you're punishing it for all the ways it's failed you. The bore's already clogged. The barrel's pitted from last week's rain. There's rust creeping across the lock plate like it's spreading on purpose. You tilt it to the side. Shake it. A piece rattles. You pretend not to hear it. The sergeant once told you, that rifle is your life. He didn't mention it was also your liability. You've seen what happens when it misfires. A flash in the pan. A delay. A pop. Then nothing. And when that happens, you get one choice. Fix it or die with it in your hands. You remember that boy from Pennsylvania? Brand new, barely had fuzz on his chin. He pulled the trigger and the cap fizzled. He looked at it confused, like the gun had lied to him. The rebel across the line didn't wait. Bayonet, chest, gone. You flinch at the memory. You were 10 feet away. Too late to help. Too far to forget. And now you check your caps 3 times before you load. Make sure the nipple's dry. Make sure the powder's good. Make sure the gods of war are watching kindly just this once. You hold the rifle in both hands. Feel the weight. The balance is off now. The stock cracked during the last charge. You patched it with twine. It wobbles when you run. Feels like it's going to fall apart every time you fire. Sometimes you think it wants to. The bayonet doesn't fit right anymore either. You jam it on. It squeaks, leans to the left. You tell yourself that doesn't matter, that no one notices in the middle of a fight. But you notice. And that's enough to make your fingers tremble every time you shoulder the damn thing. The trigger sticks when it's wet. The hammer's loose from a pin you can't replace. There's a dent in the barrel from when you dropped it on a rock. It's not a weapon anymore. It's a collection of complaints dressed like one. And still, it's the only thing standing between you and death. You load it now with ritual. Step 1. Powder charge 60 grains if you have it. Step 2. The mini ball, thumb it in. Try not to drop it. Step 3. Ram it home. 2. 3 solid strokes. Step 4. Percussion cap, place it on the nipple. Gently. Step 5. Half cock. Wait. You can do this in 15 seconds now. Sometimes 12. In the dark, 20, maybe more. And when it's time to fire, really fire, you hold your breath. Not because you're steadying your aim, but because you're not sure it's going to work. You've pulled the trigger before and gotten nothing. Just smoke, just a click. Just betrayal. And every time it happens, you feel it, that electric surge of panic. Because now you're out in the open with a musket that might as well be a broomstick. So you fix. Fast. Rip the cap off, dry the nipple, try again. Sometimes works. Sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you grab the stock, flip it over and start swinging. Because if it won't shoot, it can still break bones. At least you hope. You remember one battle Harris's rifle blew up in his hands. Barrel split. Took 2 fingers with it. He wrapped it in a rag and kept fighting. He laughed later. Said, she got tired of killing strangers, figured she'd try me. You didn't laugh. Because yours could be next. You've stopped trusting it. Stopped naming it. Some of the guys, do they carve initials into the stock, talk to it like it's a dog? You don't. Because love gets you killed. You treat it like what it is. A tool. A gamble. A maybe. And when the captain calls for a volley, when you step into line and raise your musket at the grey blur across the field, you do it with a kind of numb faith. That this time, when you squeeze the trigger, it'll work. It'll fire. And it won't explode. or jam, or cough, or choke. And if it does, you've got your knife. You've got your bayonet. You've got your boots and your fists and the pure savage instinct to not die today. Because your rifle's not reliable. Your rifle's not loyal. Your rifle is a guess dressed like a gun. And today, you hope you guessed right. You can't see anything. Not because it's dark. It's not. It's midday. But the smoke is everywhere. Thick, heavy, yellow-white clouds of black powder hanging in the air like fog with an attitude. You step forward and vanish, even to yourself. 1 minute you're in formation shoulder to shoulder. The next, you're in a cloud, alone, rifle up. No idea where left or right went. You cough. The air burns going in. Tastes like sulphur, ash, and something you don't want to name. Someone stumbles past you. You don't know if he's Union or Confederate. You don't even know if he's still breathing. You shout. "Where are we?" Someone shouts back. You can't tell who. Someone screams. Close. You turn toward it. See a shadow. Too tall, too small, blue coat or grey. You don't wait. You aim. You fire. The smoke swallows the sound, then spits it back. Echoes bounce, muskets crack, metal clashes. But it's all directionless. All noise, no source. You reload fast, sloppy, hand shaking, cap nearly slips from your fingers. Then a bayonet flashes through the haze. You duck. It misses. You swing your musket like a club. Connect. A grunt. A thud. Still no idea who it was. You hope they were aiming at you. You hope they were wearing grey. You backpedal. Trip on something, a root, a body. You fall. Hard. Dirt in your mouth and your eyes can do what you blink. Nothing clears. Smoke hugs the ground now, stays low, curls around boots like it's alive. You crawl forward. Feel a boot. A leg. You grab. Who? It's Harris. He grabs your coat, pulls you close. "Left flank's gone," he shouts. "We're surrounded." You say, "Where's the line?" He shakes his head. "There is no line." Of course not. Because smoke doesn't care about formations. Smoke doesn't care about discipline. Smoke just hides. You stand barely. Cough again. Try to look around. All you see is flickers of muzzle fire, of shadows of limbs. Gunshots come from every direction. You can't return fire because there's no direction to return it to. So you move. Half walking, half running, rifle clutched tight, bayonet fixed just in case. You step over a man on the ground. His uniform's too muddy to tell what side he's on. His eyes are open, glassy. You don't stop. Ahead, the smoke parts for a second. You see a fence. Beyond its silhouettes. 3, 4. One raises a rifle. You drop. The shot rings out. Misses. You don't know who fired or why, or at whom. You just know you're alive. You crawl behind a tree stump. Sit with your back against it, sucking in bad air like it might be your last. Next to you, someone's coughing up blood. He doesn't even hold his wound. He just stares into the smoke like he's waiting for it to answer. You whisper, "Where are they?" He says, "Everywhere." You stay down. The gunfire never stops. It just drifts, like thunder moving through fog. You hear commands, shouted, garbled, unintelligible. Left. Charge. Cease. Hold. Surrender. You don't obey any of them, because they could be from your officers, or theirs. The flags are gone. The officers are gone. The light is gone. It's just shadow and smoke and death now. You reload again. Your fingers are black. You've stopped checking if your powder's dry. You don't care anymore. You peek around the stump. Nothing but mist and chaos. Then a figure, 20 feet, rifle raised. You freeze. They freeze. You both stand there, not moving, blue coat, or just grey faded by dirt and rain. You raise your rifle, so does he. Neither of you fires. You both back away. Silent agreement. Don't shoot what you can't see. You retreat into the smoke. Back to nothing. Back to silence that isn't silent. To motion that isn't progress. Eventually the sounds fade. Either the battle's over, or you just wandered out of it. You drop to your knees behind a boulder. Collapse. You're soaked in sweat, dirt, blood. Some yours, most not. Your hands are numb. Your eyes sting. You realise you never actually saw the enemy today. Not clearly. Not once. Just shapes. Shadows. Flickers in a cloud. And that's the terrifying truth. You didn't fight men. You fought smoke. And next time, it'll be the same. Because in this war, visibility is a luxury. And killing is done blind. It starts slow. Just a drizzle. Thin, cold drops slipping through the trees. You feel the first one hit your neck, run down your spine like an icy finger. You look up. Clouds, thick, heavy, swollen with everything the sky's been saving up. You mutter, not today. But it doesn't care. The rain comes anyway. Not a sprinkle, a flood, a curtain, a punishment. It falls in sheets. Soaks your coat in minutes. Soaks your boots in seconds. Turns the path beneath your feet into soup. You pull your blanket tighter. Pointless. It's already wet, already heavy, already useless. You were supposed to march this morning. You still do. Rain doesn't cancel war. It just adds weight. Your boots sink with every step. The road isn't a road anymore. It's a swamp with opinions. Your soles slide on the clay. Your socks squish. Your blister from yesterday tears open again. You look around. Everyone's hunched, silent, miserable. Nobody talks in the rain. Because it gets in your mouth. Because it's not worth the effort. Because nobody wants to admit this might be worse than combat. You pass a wagon stuck in the mud. 2 wheels buried halfway. The mules gave up. The driver's swearing. The sergeant waves him on. No one helps. You pass a man sitting in a ditch, arms wrapped around his knees, water pooling up around his waist. You say nothing. You're not sure if he's asleep or dead. Your musket's a mess. The powder's damp. The barrel's full of grit. Your last cap got soaked when you fell crossing a ravine. You dried it on your coat. It didn't help. You hold your rifle sideways now, trying to shield the lock. You mutter, "Please work." You know it won't. The rain doesn't stop. Not after an hour, not after 3. Your pack weighs double what it did at dawn. Your haversack leaks. Your bacon turned to soup. Your biscuit's a sponge, you eat it anyway. You wipe your face again. It doesn't matter. You're soaked to the bone, to the soul, to whatever's left inside you. Then comes the cold. Not just air cold. Bone-deep cold. The kind that creeps up your spine and wraps around your ribs. The kind that makes your fingers stop working one knuckle at a time. You see a man fall over. Just collapses sideways like someone yanked the strings loose. Nobody rushes to him. Not because they don't care. Because they know what it means. Hypothermia, exhaustion, or just giving up. You feel your own legs wobble. You tighten your jaw. You keep walking. The camp comes into view finally. You drop your gear. Start digging your sleeping hole. The ground is pudding. You dig anyway. You finish. Water fills it in 10 minutes. You lay your blanket down anyway. You lie in it. Close your eyes. Pretend the mud is warm. A drop hits your eyelid. Then another. You turn your head. Water slides into your ear. You don't move. Because what's the point? There's no shelter. No tents. No fires, everything's too wet to burn. You see a man trying to spark a match under his coat. It fizzles. He curses. Tries again. You watch for a while, hoping he wins. He doesn't. You press your arms to your chest. Curl up. Try to keep your core warm. You shiver. It gets worse. Because then the sickness starts. Rain spreads it. The coughing. The retching. One guy throws up bile next to the trench. Another stumbles behind a tree and doesn't come back. Rain means wet food, wet clothes, wet lungs. It means dysentery, trench foot, pneumonia. You've seen what it does. Feet rotting in boots, skin peeling off in strips, eyes glassy from fever. And there's no doctor. Just whiskey and waiting. Rain turns men into corpses before the bullets do. And you know the worst part? You still have to fight tomorrow. Rain or not. That's the rule. Rain means no powder, no traction, no visibility. But the orders still come. You'll load your musket with soggy fingers. You'll fire at shadows through fog. Your bayonet will slip on muddy boots, miss ribs, get stuck in a coat. You'll scream. You'll bleed, and no one will hear it over the thunder. Because in the Civil War, rain doesn't delay the fight. It just adds another way to die. You're in the line now. Not a metaphor. A literal, straight, stupid line. Shoulder to shoulder with 100 other men, barely 5 feet apart. There's no trench, no sandbags, no wall, just a fence behind you, and a hill in front of you. You're told to hold this position. And not move. You look left. You look right. Everyone's scared. Everyone's sweating. Everyone's silent. Then you hear it. The drums. Faint at first, then louder. Then louder still. You squint across the field. Through smoke. Through dust. Through heat haze. They're coming. Grey coats. Bayonets fixed. Flags high. A wave of bodies. Steady. Calm, deliberate. They're not running. Not yet. Because they know something you don't. You're not going anywhere. Your captain walks behind the line. Hold fire until I say, he says. You grip your musket tight. It's loaded. You check twice. You feel sweat in your gloves. The powder against your ribs. The cap under your thumb. Your knees shake. You tell them to stop. They don't. The enemy keeps coming. 1,000 yards, then 800, then 6. You hear one guy mutter, "What are we waiting for?" The captain repeats himself. Hold. They're close enough now that you can see their eyes. Some are dead already. You can tell. They just don't know it yet. 400 yards. You see the lead officer raise his sword. You flinch, but he doesn't charge. He waves forward. They speed up. March becomes jog. Jog becomes sprint. Ready, your captain shouts. You raise your rifle. Your breath stops. Volley fire. Aim low. You aim. Fire. The line erupts. A roar. A ripple of thunder. Smoke kicks up like a curtain yanked from the earth. You can't see what you hit. Doesn't matter. You reload fast. Powder, ball, ram, cap, cock. You fire again. The man next to you doesn't. You glance his musket's jammed. He swears, ducks, tries to fix it. Then he gets hit, square in the neck. He drops instantly. You don't look down. They're still coming. Closer now. Too close. You fire a third time, miss, don't care, no time to reload. You sling the musket, grab the bayonet. Now it's real. They hit the line like a wave on a pier. Men screaming, clashing steel, smoke choking everything. You stab forward, hit something, someone. You feel resistance, then collapse. You step over it, or them. You parry a bayonet, swing the musket like a club. Crack a jaw, blood sprays. Someone grabs your coat, you twist, elbow them, punch, scream. You're not thinking. You're surviving. Your boot slips in something wet, you don't look. You jam the bayonet into a stomach. He gasps, folds, dies. You rip it out, it sticks, you kick him. Reload. No time. No room. You drop your musket. Grab a pistol off a corpse. It's loaded. You hope. You fire point blank into a chest. Once, twice. He falls on top of you. You shove him off. Stand, stagger. The line is chaos. You hear your name shouted. Don't know who said it. You see the flag. Still up. Still flying. You scream something, anything, doesn't matter. You hear a bugle. The Rebs are falling back. You don't cheer. You just breathe. Hard. Fast. Shallow. You bend over, hands on your knees. You count bodies. Then stop. Too many. You grab your musket. You reload. Because someone always shouts again. Hold the line. Like it's easy. Like it's just something men do. But you know the truth now. You don't hold the line with courage. You hold it with blood. With pain. With the body of the man next to you falling so you get 5 more seconds to load. You hold it because retreat means being shot in the back. You hold it because the order came from someone behind the hill who'll never see what it cost you. You hold it until you break, or until they do. You hear the first one before you see it. Boom. Deep. Distant. Almost noble. But then it hits, and you understand. Cannons don't aim. They erase. The man it lands near doesn't die in one piece. He stops being a person and becomes parts. Boot, leg, red mist. Gone. You blink. There's a chunk of something on your sleeve. You don't know what it is. You don't want to know. Another shot screams overhead. Not boom screams. That's the terrifying part. They whistle, they spin, they sing as they fall. And then, crack, a tree explodes. Shards fly in all directions. One embeds in a man's chest. Not a ball, not a bullet. Just wood. You duck. Pointless. There's no cover. The fence line's gone, the ground's cratered. Your ears are ringing so bad you can't hear yourself breathe. You look around. Everyone's crouching. Some are praying. Some are frozen. The sky lights up again. Boom. You see it coming. Not the ball, just the panic. Men running. You're supposed to stay in formation. But what's formation mean when half your squad just turns into a stain? You hold your ground, because if you run, you break, and when you break, you die. The sergeant shouts something. You can't hear him. His mouth moves. That's all. Then another blast, this one lands behind the line. You feel the pressure in your teeth. It doesn't just shake the ground, it shakes you. Your spine, your skull, your stomach. You double over and dry heave. The guy next to you is laughing. Manic, nonsensical. He's not okay. You don't blame him. Because cannon fire isn't like bullets. It doesn't target. It doesn't choose. It wipes. You see it again, a shot hits low, bounces through the line. Takes out 3 men like bowling pins. One of them was mid-sentence. Now there's just red on the grass. You reload your musket. Why? You don't know. You couldn't hit a cannon if you tried. But loading gives your hands something to do. Then you hear it. A new sound. Case shot. The canister. You know what's coming next. Not one ball, but dozens. Hundreds. Packed in like gravel, exploding out like a shotgun the size of a wagon. The blast hits the front rank. Men drop, some without heads, some without legs, some just fall apart. You're behind them. You step over, or through. The smoke clears for a second. You see the cannon. Black, massive, sitting like a god on the ridge. You fire your musket at it. Pointless. But you do it anyway. You reload. You fire again. Still pointless. But at least you're doing something. Then comes the order. Advance. You laugh. Of course they said that. Of course you're charging toward the cannons now. Because that's what war is, walking into death because someone said you should. You go. Feet sliding in mud and gore. Rifle in one hand, bayonet fixed. You run past bodies that were whole an hour ago. Now just red piles and names you'll never learn. The ground gets louder with every step. The cannons fire again. Not all hit. Some land too far, some too short. But every miss is still a message. We don't have to be accurate. We just have to be close. You're 30 yards out now. Smoke everywhere. Your boots slip. You grab a fallen branch, push forward. The men to your left are screaming. The men to your right aren't screaming at all. You don't know what that means. You reach the battery. There's yelling. There's grappling. There's blood. You slam your musket into a gunner's skull. He drops. You stab another. He squeals. You twist. The cannon's still hot. You feel the heat radiating off the barrel. Your sleeve catches fire. You beat it out. The gunners are dead. Or fled. The battery is yours. You collapse next to the wheel. And then you hear another one. Farther back. Another gun. Another blast. You flinch. Duck. But the shot goes wide. Hits the tree line behind you. You breathe. Hard. And then you realise this wasn't the last one. Not by a long shot. You don't want to close your eyes, you're tired. You've been tired. You're a walking corpse in a uniform held together with twine and prayer. But you don't sleep. Because out here, sleep isn't rest. Sleep is surrender. You try to lie down anyway. Just for a second. Just to take the weight off your feet. You dig a shallow scrape in the dirt, curl into it, and pull your coat over your head. Instant regret. The coat is damp. The ground's colder than you remember. And something's crawling near your neck. You brush it off. You hope it's a beetle. You hope it's not lice. Your eyes shut, finally. And instantly it begins. Not dreams. Not rest. Memories. The kind you don't ask for. Gunshots. Smoke. The sound a man makes when you stab him too low and he doesn't die right away. You see a face. Could have been your friend. Might have been the enemy. You're not sure anymore. He's screaming. You jolt awake. Heartbeat pounding in your ears. You sit up. Still dark. Still cold. Still not safe. You hear someone whimpering. 10 feet away, maybe less. You don't ask. Because it could be a dream. Or it could be a breakdown. Either way, you can't fix it. You lie back down. This time you leave your eyes open. They sting, burn. Grains of ash trapped under your lids. You try to blink them out. They don't go. You stare up at the sky. There are no stars tonight. Just clouds. And smoke. And the silhouette of branches like twisted fingers. Your brain whispers to you. What if they attack now? You sit up, scan the tree line. All quiet. Too quiet. You want to sleep. You do. But you know what happens when you do. You've seen it. Men who sleep too deep don't wake up. Some from pneumonia, some from rats. Some from a knife in the dark. You remember Reuben? Good man. Snored like a dying ox. Didn't wake up when the Rebs hit camp last week. They slit his throat before we even opened his eyes. You still see the look on his face. Not pain. Just surprise. Like death had arrived early. You roll over. Try again. You count breaths. You hold your rifle close, one hand still on the stock. You try to think of home. A feather bed. A fire. Your sister's cat meowing at the door. But all you see is dirt. And firelight flickering off bayonets. And a boot full of blood. You drift off anyway. And wake up again minutes later, maybe hours, choking on your own spit. You sat up so fast you wrenched your back. Something moved in the brush. You hold still. Listen. A rabbit? A rat? Or worse, you grip the musket. You whisper, "Don't." It doesn't answer. Whatever it was, it leaves you alone. This time, you exhale. You try again. Sleep is a battlefield now. It ambushes you, takes you down, steals your breath, floods your head with things you can't forget and don't want to remember. But here's the worst part. You need it. If you don't sleep, you'll crack. You'll freeze mid-charge. You'll forget to reload. You'll walk straight into fire without knowing it. So you sleep. A little. Just enough to keep going. But never enough to feel rested. Never deep. Never safe. And every time you close your eyes, you ask yourself the same question. Is this the time I don't wake up? You don't hear it. Not at first. Because you're too busy firing, reloading, swearing, sweating. Your hands are slick. Your rifle's fouled. The line is collapsing. The captain screams, "Hold! You hear, run!" You don't run. You don't reload either. Because they're here, the enemy is on you. Not across a field, not 50 yards away. Here, face to face. Eyes wild, breath ragged, bayonets fixed. You raise your musket. It's not a gun anymore. It's a spear, a club, a choice. You thrust. He dodges, swings low. Bayonet catches your coat, rips the hem. You step back, reset, thrust again. This time you connect, midsection, soft. The blade slides in, slower than you expected. You thought it'd be clean, quick. It isn't. It catches, tugs. You feel resistance muscle, cloth, something else. Then it gives, and you hear it. That awful wet shuck, the sound of metal sliding through a body. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's quiet, personal, final. He gasps. You twist, pull back. The blade comes out with a sick sound like boots in mud. He drops. You don't look at him again. You turn, there's another. He lunges. You parry. Clash. Shoulder to shoulder now. No time to think. You jab. Miss. He jabs. Nicks your thigh. You punch him with the butt of your musket. He falls back. Tries to rise. You step forward. Slam the bayonet down. Into his chest. Through his coat into the dirt. Again. Shuck. His hands grab your wrists. Tight. Then looser. Then gone. You can't breathe. Not from pain. From closeness. You never thought war would smell like this. Sweat. Gunpowder. Urine. blood. It's all here, inches from your face. You pull your musket back. It sticks. You yank. Still stuck. You step on his chest. Rip it free. You stumble back. Your arms shake. You look down. Your bayonet's not silver anymore. It's black. Red. Slick. You wipe it on your coat. Like that'll help. Around you, chaos. Men stabbing, screaming, dying in contact. There's no distance here. No aiming. No reloads. Just 2 stabs first. Someone behind you shouts your name. You turn too slow. Bayonet grazes your ribs. Burns like fire. You scream, spin, jab. He wasn't ready. You hit his throat. His mouth opens. No sound. Just a cough. He drops. You look at him. Too long. Someone slams into you. You hit the ground hard, mud in your teeth. He's on top of you, his bayonet inches from your chest. You grab his wrists. Push. He pushes harder. Your strength fades. Then a shot. His head jerks. Goes still. Someone pulled a trigger. You're not sure who. You push him off. Roll away. You cough. Wipe your mouth. Your hands are shaking so badly you can't hold your rifle straight. Your knees buckle. You sit. Not from choice. Just because. The fight is still going. But farther now. You're behind the line again. You catch your breath. Try to wipe your face. Just smear blood instead. You stare at your bayonet. You think about the sound it makes. Not the clash, not the scream. That quiet, intimate tear. The moment when steel becomes death. You know that sound now. You'll always know it. And no matter how far from this war you go, you'll never unhear it. The order comes down like it's nothing. Clear the area, burn what can't be carried. You nod. So does everyone else. No questions. No hesitation. No sympathy. Because this isn't new. This is war now. If it hides a man, it burns. The barn goes first. You grab a torch. Harris grabs another. You don't need to speak. You've done this before. The roof's dry good. It catches easy. You step back as the fire grows. Watch it crawl up the beams like it's hungry. The cows are gone. The hay is mouldy. But the barn's still shelter. That's enough. It becomes an orange furnace in minutes. Next is the house. You knock first. Out of habit? Politeness? You don't know. No one answers. You step inside. It smells like wood smoke, dust and memories. Pictures still hang crooked on the walls. A doll lies on the floor, one arm missing. You tell yourself it's empty. You shout once. Hello? Nothing. Still you check every room, because the last time someone didn't, 3 of your friends died to a musket hidden in a chimney. You find no soldiers, but you do find food. A sack of flour, a few potatoes. You pocket them. Not because you're looting, because you're starving. You grab a chair, smash it. Splinters go into the fireplace. You light the flame. It grows fast. The curtains catch next, then the rafters. The smoke is thick. You step outside. The roof caves in. You watch. And you feel nothing. No guilt, no pride. Just heat on your face and ash on your coat. You turn to the well, toss in a dead mule, break the rope. Because if you don't, they'll drink from it. They'll live. And the war will keep going. The fields come next. Tall corn, drying wheat, a half-picked orchard. You light a trail of fire through the stalks. It spreads behind you. Fast. Hungry. The flames wave goodbye in orange fingers. There's a scream. You stop. Look back. A woman screaming in a language you don't know. She's sprinting toward the house, toward the fire. Too late. Two men grab her, hold her back. She fights, kicks, bites. She doesn't care about your uniform. She only sees the flames. She falls to her knees, wails. You look away, not because it hurts, but because it doesn't. You were told to burn. So, you burned. That's it. The captain walks past, doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. This is how it works now. You don't conquer land. You deny it. You don't win battles. You starve them out. No food, no shelter, no reason to stay. You walk to the next house. It's already burning. The wind changes, smoke blows in your face. You cough. Your eyes water. You hear gunshots in the woods. Could be your men. Could be what's left of theirs. You don't flinch. You've stopped flinching. Another barn goes up. This one has horses inside. They scream. You tell yourself they were the enemy's horses. It helps. It's a lie. But it helps. By nightfall the whole ridge is glowing. A necklace of flame wrapped around the trees. Orange dancing on the horizon like hell is watching. The woman's still screaming. You hear her as you eat one of her potatoes. It's good. You don't feel good, but it's food, and food is rare. You sit in the dirt staring at what used to be a village, and you wonder, what's left after we leave? Nothing. That's the point. Because the war isn't just about who dies, it's about who survives, and what they come back to. You don't notice it at first. You're too busy staying alive. Too busy marching, eating what little there is, digging, cleaning your rifle, loading, unloading, running, sleeping in wet clothes. But then you look up one morning and someone's missing. Not on a battlefield, not in a charge. Just gone. Maybe it was the fever. Maybe they wandered too far from the picket line. Maybe they just walked into the woods and didn't come back. You don't ask. You don't have to, because you know how this works now. No one dies all at once. They die slowly, quietly, one by one. You remember the first? Murphy. Big guy. Loud laugh. Knew all the cards, all the songs. Took a bullet in the thigh during a night skirmish. He said, "Ain't nothing, boys, just a scratch." You helped carry him to the rear. Next morning, he was cold. Infection. Fever took him in his sleep. You stared at him for a long time. Then packed up and marched like he was never there. Next was Willard. The joker, always cracking wise. One day he couldn't stop coughing. Said it was just smoke from the fire. 2 days later he coughed up blood. 3 days later he was wrapped in a blanket and buried under rocks. You didn't joke for a while after that. Then came Mason. No wounds, no fever. Just sat down during a march and said, "I'll catch up." You left him there. You never did. You heard later they found him with his musket still across his knees. Eyes open, blank, empty. Nobody knew what got him. Maybe he just stopped. Stopped walking. Stopped thinking. Stopped being. It happens. Now it's Baines. He's been quiet lately. Used to talk in his sleep. Used to hum when he cleaned his boots. Now he just stares. Last night you found him sharpening his bayonet. It was already sharp. You said, "Baines?" He didn't answer. Just stared at the blade like it was whispering to him. You didn't ask. This morning his spot in the line was empty. No blood, no body. Just gone. You keep your mouth shut. Because it doesn't matter anymore. They're all leaving, one way or another, in a charge, in a tent, on a log, staring at a tree they'll never describe. Sometimes you wonder if it's better to go fast, a shot to the chest, a cannonball you never saw, gone before you know it, instead of this, the slow rot, the internal decay, the creeping realization that you're the last one left of the boys who crossed the state line with you. You think of Paul. He wasn't even supposed to be there. Signed up under a fake name to fight next to his brother. His brother took a shell at Antietam. Paul didn't talk for 3 weeks. Then one night he stood up in the middle of dinner and walked into the woods. Never came back. You kept his boots. They were better than yours. You don't feel bad, because boots don't care whose feet they're on. You sit by the fire tonight, watching flames flicker up the blackened side of your mess tin. Harris is still here. For now. So is little Joe, but his cough's getting worse. You'll dig the hole tomorrow, just in case. It's easier that way. You don't say goodbye anymore. You just memorize faces. So that when they disappear, and they will, you'll know they were real. For a while. And maybe if you're lucky, someone's doing the same for you. It starts as a joke. What's for dinner? Hardtack and regret. You laugh. Everyone laughs. Because it's still early. Because you still believe this ends soon. Because you don't know what real hunger feels like. Yet. By week 3 your belt's tighter. By week 4 your stomach's eating itself. By week 5 it's not funny anymore. You're not hungry. You're hollow. You feel it behind your ribs, the aching, dragging emptiness that makes you slow, stupid, mean. Your vision blurs when you stand. Your knees shake. You stare at other men's plates, even if there's nothing on them. Your hands tremble as you eat the last of your biscuit, mouldy, damp, half-chewed by mice. You chew slow, try to make it last. You lose. The hunger is always faster than you. You kill a rat one night. Big one. Fat. You trap it under your mess tin. You don't tell anyone. You go behind the tree line, gut it with your knife. You try not to think about what it looked like alive. You boil it in your tin. No seasoning, no salt. Just meat, if you can even call it that. You eat it all. Even the tail. Your stomach cramps. You vomit. Then you scrape it back up and eat that too. Because you're not wasting it. Not anymore. Hunger teaches you things. It teaches you that morals are for people who've had breakfast. It teaches you that stealing isn't wrong if it's from someone dead. It teaches you what human meat smells like when it burns. You try not to remember that day. You try not to remember whose boots were still on the corpse, whose face was still visible after the shell hit, whose hand still twitched as you passed. You try not to remember how warm his thigh was, or how sharp your knife had to be, but you do remember the taste, and the shame after. But only for a minute, because after that, you slept with a full belly, and for the first time in days you didn't dream of gnawing your own fingers. You learned something about yourself that night. That you're not who you thought you were. You're worse. And you'll be worse tomorrow. Because you have to be. The hunger never ends. Even when you eat. Even when you steal. Even when you scrape the blackened crumbs off the bottom of a burned tin like it's gold. You look at Harris, he's chewing leather. Actual leather. Boiled his belt 3 times, still chewing. He offered to share. You said no. Then you took the other end when he fell asleep. It wasn't good, but it was something. One night a deer walks through camp. The whole unit freezes. No one moves. Then 6 men raise rifles at once. They miss. It runs. You stare into the woods long after it's gone, like maybe your hunger will pull it back. It doesn't. Later that night, you find something behind the latrine. Half buried, wrapped in oilskin. You dig it up. Hardtack. Old, mouldy, damp. You don't care. You eat it in the dark, hiding like a thief. And for the first time in a week, you don't hate yourself. Not completely, but you know what's coming. You know tomorrow someone will die. And part of you wonders, will they have food in their pockets? You hate yourself for thinking it. Then you remember the taste of rat, and the shame fades, because shame is a luxury, and you're not a soldier anymore. You're a survivor. Whatever that means now. You don't remember what broke you. It wasn't a bullet. It wasn't a friend dying. It wasn't even the hunger, the cold, or the blood. It was something small. A sock. Torn. You pulled it from your pack and the hole stared back at you like a wound. That was it. You sat down in the dirt, pulled your knees up to your chest, and cried. You didn't mean to. The tears just came. Fast, hot, silent at first. Then with sound. You tried to stop them. You couldn't. You didn't care who saw. Not in that moment. You just wanted your mother, your dog, your bed. You wanted something soft, but nothing in this place is soft. A shadow moved nearby. You looked up. A soldier Harris, maybe, or one of the new kids. You weren't sure. He stared at you for a second, then walked away. Didn't ask. Didn't help. Didn't say a word. Just turned and left. Because out here, nobody cares if you cry. Tears don't stop bullets. Tears don't fix boots. Tears don't patch holes in your coat or dry your powder, or bring back the man whose blood is still on your bayonet. You sobbed into your sleeve until it was soaked. Not from the rain, from you. You'd held it together for months, watched men die, watched homes burn, watched a surgeon saw off a foot while a man screamed for his mother, and you hadn't flinched. But today the sock tore, and you tore with it. Later that night, no one said anything. No one made a joke, because they all knew. They'd all had their moment. Maybe it was when they got lice for the third time. Maybe it was when they saw a boy trying to push his guts back in after a cannonball hit too low. Maybe it was when they ate a dog and called it stew. But it came for all of them. That crack. That quiet collapse behind the eyes. You sit by the fire now, dry-faced, blank, silent. Someone says something. You don't hear it. Your eyes stare through the flames. The mouth doesn't move. You're still here. But part of you isn't. Part of you broke. And no one patched it. Because there's no time. Because there's no care left. You still wipe your face, though. Not because you're embarrassed, but because tears waste water. And everything out here is a resource. Even your grief. You sleep with your rifle tonight, like always. Your hand still trembles on the stock. You whisper names you won't say in daylight. People you'll never see again. Places that aren't real anymore. You want someone to say, "It's okay," but nobody does. Because it isn't. And because nobody cares. They've got their own tears to hide. Their own cracks to keep quiet. Their own nights where they cried into a rag and hoped no one noticed. Out here, crying isn't weakness. It's just irrelevant, like warmth, or mercy, or you. You used to have a name. A full name. 2 or 3 parts. First, middle, last. Maybe a nickname if you were lucky. Something people shouted across the yard. Something carved in school desks or etched on barn walls. But out here, you're just called by your last name, if they remember it, if they bother. Sometimes you get a number, a nickname, Mouse, Doc, Preacher, or just you. You answer to anything now, because who you were isn't here anymore. You'll remember your first week. You kept your locket close, photograph folded tight, edges worn from opening it too many times. Your sister, your girl, your dog. You don't look at it anymore. Not because it hurts, because you can't feel anything when you do. Your handwriting's gone sloppy. Your accent's different. Your shoulders hunch from the weight of your gear. You've stopped standing up straight. You walk like the old men you used to laugh at. You can't remember the names of streets back home, the smell of spring, the exact colour of your front door. You know the sound of a shell spinning through trees. You know the feel of a musket ball lodged in your thigh. You know how long a man can scream before his lungs stop working. But you don't know you. Not anymore. Your birthday passed 2 weeks ago. You didn't know. Didn't care. Someone asked how old you were the other night. You guessed. You were probably wrong. You used to hum songs when you marched. Now you just march. You used to talk in your sleep. Now you grind your teeth and wake up choking. You used to write letters. You tried last week. Sat by the fire with a pencil and blank paper, stared at it for an hour. Didn't write a word. Because what do you even say? Still alive, still cold, killed a man yesterday, ate a dead mule, miss you. You tore it up and burned it. The ashes curled into the sky and vanished. Just like you, even your voice has changed. Rougher, lower, tired. You spoke to a new recruit the other day, clean boots, clean face, full of dumb hope. He called you sir. You laughed, then realised you hadn't laughed in a month. It felt foreign in your throat, like someone else was wearing your skin. You used to care how you looked, how you smelled, if your shirt matched your coat. Now, you've worn the same trousers for 42 days. You piss 5 feet from where you sleep. You wipe your nose with your sleeve and eat off a knife you use to cut blistered flesh. And the worst part, it doesn't feel wrong anymore. It feels normal. You tried to remember your mother's voice. Nothing. You tried to picture your kitchen table. Blank. You tried to remember what you wanted to do after the war. And realised you never made it that far. Because you didn't think you'd live this long. Now you're just something in between. Not dead. Not living. Just drifting from battle to battle. From day to day. From meal to meal if there is one. You tell yourself it'll come back. That one day, when it ends, you'll find all the pieces again. Put the name back on. Stand up straight. Go home. But deep down you know the truth. That person is gone. And the one who took his place, he only knows how to shoot, and walk, and wait, and forget. You hear the screams before you see the tent. High-pitched, choked. Sometimes sharp, sometimes just moaning. You know what it means. Someone's under the knife. You were told there'd be chloroform, ether, whiskey, something. But the truth is simple. There isn't enough. Not for everyone. Not when the wounded show up in stacks. Not when there are more limbs to cut than hands to hold them down. You walk past the tent fast. You don't want to look. You try not to look. But you do. The flaps open. Blood pools on the ground. and a pile of sawed-off limbs in the corner like firewood boots still on some of them. You gag. Keep walking. Then someone grabs you. Help me hold him. It's the surgeon. His sleeves are rolled, his apron soaked. You shake your head. I'm not a... Don't care. Grab his shoulders. You do. The man on the table is writhing. Pale, eyes rolled back. He's missing a boot. His sock is red. His leg is worse. The surgeon looks at you worse. You ready? You aren't. He doesn't wait. The saw bites down. The man howls. You flinch. Try to look away, but your hands are on his chest. You're holding him down. His skin's slick with sweat and blood. He bucks, screams, begs. He shouts a name his wife's maybe, or his mother's. The saw keeps going. The sound is the worst part. Not the scream, the sawing, the bone giving, the gristle tearing, the dull rhythm of death measured in strokes. You feel the man's heart pounding through his chest, then slowing. The surgeon yells, "Keep him awake!" You slap his face. You say his name, you don't know it. You say, "Look at me, look at me." He tries. His lips move. No sound. The surgeon curses. You feel the moment the body relaxes. Not relief. Just absence. Gone. The surgeon checks his pulse. Too slow. He's going. You step back. Let go. Your hands are shaking. The saw stops. The leg drops to the floor with a thud. Still warm, still twitching. The surgeon shouts, "Next." And just like that, they drag the next man in. You back out of the tent. Wipe your hands on your coat. Stare at the red streaks like they don't belong to you. Your stomach turns. You throw up behind a wagon. You sit in the dirt for a while, just breathing. The surgeon's tent doesn't smell like a hospital. It smells like iron, like meat, like sweat and terror, and the kind of silence that comes after a scream. You hear one of the men whisper, "Better to die on the field." You nod, because at least then it's fast. Out here, in this tent, is not just about saving a life. It's about removing the parts that'll kill it. No time for clean cuts. No time for comfort. Just whiskey in the mouth if you're lucky. A saw in the leg. And pain that reaches through your body and tears your name out of your throat. And even if you live, you won't walk right. You won't sleep right. You won't forget the sound of that saw. Ever. You walk away from the tent. You don't look back. You never want to be in there again. But you know someday? You might be. You hear the gunfire first. Close. Too close. Wrong direction. Not from in front, but behind. You spin. Smoke rises from the woods. Shouts echo through the trees. And just like that, you know, you're surrounded. There's no panic. Not yet. Just a terrible stillness. You look left, then right. Everyone's frozen. Muskets halfway loaded. Mouths half open. Then someone shouts, "They're behind us!" And everything falls apart. You run. Not because you're a coward. Because there's no plan. No line to hold. No officer barking orders, just survival. You sprint toward the fence. Leap it. Land in mud. Men scatter through the underbrush. A cannon fires. Close. Too close. Dirt erupts. You duck behind a tree that's already got blood on it. You press your back against the bark. Your heart's thudding like a drum inside your skull. You look around, no flag, no unit, no captain. Just noise. Just chaos. You grip your rifle tighter. You start to run again toward the only direction that isn't on fire. But after 50 yards, you stop. There's a line of them, grey coats, fixed bayonets. They're coming up over the ridge. You backpedal. Gunfire from behind. You're boxed in. Left, woods full of lead. Right, a ravine you won't climb out of. Forward, the enemy. Behind, death. And that's when it hits you. There's nowhere left to run. Your legs lock. Your mouth goes dry. You think of surrender. Just for a second. Then you hear it. Not orders. Not battle cries. Breathing. Close. Shaky. Panicked. You turn, someone else is hiding behind the same tree. He looks at you. You look at him. No rank. No words. Just understanding. You're not alone. Not exactly. Not yet. He nods. You nod back. Without a word, you both stand. You fire into the trees. It's not brave. It's not smart. But it's all you've got. The shot hits something, or maybe nothing. Doesn't matter. You reload. Hand shaking. Cap drops. You curse. Grab another. A bullet snaps past your ear. Close enough to feel the air move. You flinch. Slam the ramrod down. Raise your musket again. And then a shout. From behind. Your own side. Reinforcements. You look. It's two men. No flag, no formation. But they're running toward you, guns up, faces wild. They slide in beside you, gasping. You don't speak. No one does. You just form a line. 4 men, backs to a tree, barrels out. No orders. Just instinct. The bullets keep coming. One of the new guys goes down. Throat shot. Instant. The rest of you don't flinch. There's no time. You fire again, and again. Then you're dry. No powder left. You reach into your pouch. Nothing. You grab the dead man's bag. Rip it open. Wet powder. Useless. You hear boots now. Fast. Close. They're charging. This is it. You draw your bayonet. Slide it into place. You don't breathe. You just grip the stock, plant your feet and wait. Someone yells. A blur of grey breaks through the smoke. You lunge. Steel meets flesh. He screams. You shove, twist, step back. Another's behind him. You swing. Miss. He stabs. You feel it. Lower ribs. Left side. Hot. Sharp. Deep. You fall. Slam into the dirt. Can't breathe. The sky spins. You see another face, Harris. He's still standing. He fires. Drops one. Drops another. Then he kneels beside you. He's yelling. You hear nothing. Just the thump of your own heartbeat slowing. You whisper, "Are we winning?" He doesn't answer. Because it doesn't matter. There's no winning here. Only surviving. And today, even that feels impossible. Because the war doesn't care if you run. Eventually, it catches you anyway. The sun's up. You don't remember it rising. You're lying in the mud. You taste iron. Your mouth's dry. Your side feels like it's been cracked open and filled with fire. You press your hand to your ribs. Warm, wet, sticky. Blood. You're not dead. You should be. You know that. You sit up slowly. Everything hurts. Your back, your leg, your shoulder, your soul. You look around. No more gunfire. No more screams. Just bodies. 1,000 different shapes, all still. Some curled, some sprawled, some face up, eyes open, some buried in the dirt like they were trying to crawl back in. You don't recognise half of them. The other half you wish you didn't. You see Harris slumped against a stump. You crawl over. His eyes open when you touch his shoulder. He's alive. Barely. No words, just a nod. Like that's all either of you can manage. You sit next to him. Don't speak. Just exist. Because that's all you're capable of. You're alive. But you don't know why. Not because you earned it. Not because you fought harder. Not because you prayed. You didn't even see the shot coming. You don't know who fired it. You don't know what direction it came from. You just know it missed something vital. It should have killed you. It didn't. Now you're here, still bleeding, still shaking, still breathing. But breathing feels wrong. It feels borrowed, like you stole it from someone who deserved it more. You look down at your coat, torn, soaked, caked in mud and blood and things you can't name. You wonder, how many more times can I do this? Not fights. Waking up. You don't feel relief. You don't feel gratitude. You feel guilt. For the men who didn't rise. For the ones who screamed. For the ones who begged God to let them live and still died choking on dirt. You didn't ask for this mercy, but it came anyway. Now it hangs on your shoulders like weight you can't put down. You get to your feet. Barely. Your musket's broken. You carry it anyway, like a memory. The smoke's thinning. The wind carries the smell of blood, sulphur and something else, something deeper, more human. You pass a man sitting against a tree. He's alive, but he's not there. Eyes glassed over, hands limp in his lap. He doesn't look at you. You nod. He doesn't nod back. He doesn't move at all. Maybe he's gone. Just hasn't fallen yet. You walk. You don't know where. Not to the command tent. Not to a medic. Just away. Away from the field. Away from the noise still echoing inside your head. You cross a ditch. Step over a rifle. Kick aside a torn boot with half a foot still inside it. And still you walk. Because you're alive. And when you're alive, you walk. That's the rule. Even when your legs don't want to. Even when your lungs hitch with every breath. Even when your body says stop and your mind says why bother. You walk anyway. You see others now. Scattered. Some limping. Some dragging each other. One crawling. You don't speak. There's nothing left to say. Just eyes meeting. Brief. Hollow. Understanding. You lived. They lived. And neither of you know what to do with that. You reach the tree line. Collapse against a stump. Close your eyes. Sleep doesn't come. Just quiet. Not peace. Just quiet. And the creeping question you'll carry for the rest of your life. Why me? You don't tell anyone. Of course you don't. But somewhere between your last meal and your last friend falling, the thought crept in. You didn't invite it. It just showed up and stayed. You're standing in formation shoulder to shoulder with boys who've already checked out and the captain's yelling orders and your rifle's loaded and the fog hasn't lifted. And you catch yourself thinking, maybe today's the day a bullet finds you. Clean, quick, merciful. And for the first time, you don't flinch at the idea. You want it. You want something to stop this. Not because you're brave. Not because you're broken. Because you're tired. Tired of marching. Tired of the cold. Tired of coughing into your sleeve and seeing blood. Tired of digging holes for people you liked and never got to know. You stand in line. The enemy's across the field. Your hands grip the musket, but your heart doesn't care. You're not thinking about tactics anymore. You're thinking about angles. Could they hit you in the chest? Would it hurt? Would you have time to feel it? Would anyone notice? Would anyone even stop marching? Part of you hopes not. Part of you wants to vanish so quietly it doesn't make a sound. Your boots crunch in frost as you move forward. It's too cold for blood to steam today. You don't tighten your strap. You don't duck behind cover. You don't pray. Because you're not scared anymore. And that's worse. You remember when fear kept you alive? It used to sharpen you, make your fingers move faster, your eyes search harder, your legs run quicker. But now, fear's gone. All that's left is the dull ache behind your eyes and the whisper behind your ears. Let go. A cannon fires in the distance. You walk straight ahead. You used to flinch at that sound. Now it doesn't even make you blink. You remember Harris? Last week he got shot in the gut. Took him 3 days to die. You watched. Held his hand for the first 12 hours. Then you walked away. You think of that now and catch yourself thinking, if I go, let it be fast. Please, just fast. The captain says fix bayonets. You do it, mechanically, like brushing your teeth, like tying your boots, like writing your own obituary. You don't want to fight. You just want out. The line moves forward. You keep pace. Inside, you're already gone. Someone fires. You don't duck. Musket balls snap past. Still standing. Still breathing. You almost feel disappointed. You reload. You aim. You fire. Not at a person. At nothing in particular. The smoke hides the results. You march again. You think, maybe if I just stop walking, maybe if you stay still long enough, the wall will finish the job. And then something happens. Someone falls next to you, screaming, bleeding. You don't know his name, but you drop to your knees anyway. Grab his arm. Press your coat to his side. He looks at you like a child looks at a parent, like you are the only thing keeping him here. And for a second, you don't want him to die. You want him to live, even if you don't. And just like that, you snap back. You curse. You scream for help. You try to hold him together with hands that haven't held anything but a rifle in weeks. And somewhere inside that madness, that red, screaming, useless moment, you feel something. Small, faint, buried. But it's there. You still care. Not about the war. Not about the country. Just about him. And maybe that's enough. For today. You won't run. You won't fall. You won't ask the bullet to come find you. Not today. You drag him back behind a tree. You shout again. You breathe. You're still here. And for the first time in days, maybe weeks, you're glad you are. Even if it's just for one more day. You remember the speech. Before all this. Back when your boots were new and your coat still fit. Some politician on a crate. Some preacher on a porch. A crowd clapping, weeping, cheering. They used words like valor, honour, glory. You believed them. Of course you did. You were young. And young men believe in things. They handed you a flag and a paper badge and told you were fighting for something. They played drums and sang songs, said your name would be remembered. And now, you're lying in a ditch next to 2 corpses. Your socks are wet. You haven't eaten in 2 days. There's a bullet hole through your canteen and a piece of shrapnel in your shoulder you can't reach. And all you can think is, this isn't glory. This is mud. This is infection. This is screaming. This is the stink of open wounds and the sound a man makes when he realizes he's bleeding out and no one's coming. You drag yourself up the embankment. Look across the field. Bodies. Not posed, not noble, just sprawled, like trash tossed from the hands of a god who stopped caring halfway through the war. You watch a crow peck at something once called a face. You whisper a name you're not sure whose. Think of those speeches again. How they said you'd march home proud, with medals on your chest and songs in your heart. But the only thing you'll bring home now is the memory of the man who died with your name on his lips, and no one to hear it. You used to dream of statues. Now you just dream of bread. They called it glory when you crossed the county line, when you boarded the train, when you left your mother crying and your brother hugging you like he knew what would happen. They called it glory before the lice, before the frostbite, before you watched your best friend choke to death on his own tongue in the middle of a wheat field no one will ever write about. You feel the wind on your face now. Cool, gentle, real. It cuts through the gun smoke, through the rot, through the weight you've been dragging since the first man fell. And you think, what if none of it was real? The parades, the flags, the slogans painted on barn walls in letters too big to ignore. What if it was always about someone else's idea of honour? Not yours. Not the boy next to you with half a jaw. Not the man whose body you slept beside to keep warm. Not the captain whose voice cracked every time he ordered another charge into hell. What if glory was a trick? A mask? A clean word sewn onto a dirty business? Because what you've seen, what you've done, what you've had to become to stay breathing, there's nothing clean about it. No hymns, no flags, no speeches. Just silence and scars. The only statue they'll ever build for you is the one in your own mind, a man on one knee, bleeding, begging, staring at the sky and asking, was it worth it? You don't know the answer, but you stand up anyway, because someone has to, and you walk forward, one more step. Not toward glory, not toward victory. Just toward tomorrow. It's finally quiet. No drums, no boots, no shouting, no crack of rifles, no moaning from the wounded, no humming from the guy who used to sleep next to you. Just silence. You sit on a stump, alone, back straight, rifle across your knees. You're not even sure why you're still holding it. Instinct, maybe. Habit. The war paused for a day, a night, a moment. No one told you why. Some truce. Some realignment. Some miscommunication between generals with too many maps and not enough blood on their hands. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you can hear nothing. And it's worse than anything else. Because silence out here isn't peace. It's a mirror. You hear your breath, your heartbeat, the rattle in your chest that might be sickness or might be fear or might just be what you sound like now. You hear wind pass through broken trees. You hear flies buzzing around a body you haven't buried yet. And underneath it all, you hear you, not the version that signed up with a grin, not the version that marched behind a brass band and waved to girls on porches, the version that's left, the version that's seen too much, done too much, survived too much. You stare at your hands. They're dirty. Always. Not just with soil, with things you don't say out loud. You killed a man with a rock 2 days ago. You didn't mean to. You were out of powder, he charged you. You swung, he dropped. You kept swinging. Not because he was still moving, because you were. You didn't stop until someone pulled you off. You don't remember their name, but now, in the silence, you do. You remember his name, the man you killed, The way his face didn't even look angry, just surprised. You remember what his blood smelled like, and how warm it was. You haven't slept since, and in this silence, this screaming, awful stillness, your mind plays it back, over and over and over. No gunfire to drown it out, no cannon to shake it loose. Just you. Just the sound of what you've done, echoing in a place no medic can. They told you the silence would be the reward. The rest, the moment of calm, they were wrong. Because now, when it's quiet, you don't rest. You relive every step, every scream, every face. You close your eyes and you're back in the trench, back on the ridge, back holding someone's insides in your lap while they cry for their sister. You open them and you're still there. Because the war doesn't leave you. Not when the battle ends. Not when the guns go cold. Not even when the treaty's signed and the papers say it's over. The war stays. It hides in silence and waits for you to hear it again. You shift on the stump. Something cracks beneath your boot. A tooth. You look down. Half a skull buried in dirt. You look away. You look at the sky. Too blue, too calm. It feels like it's mocking you. You rub your hands together, not to clean them, just to feel something. Because when it's quiet this long, you start to wonder if you're real. You think of music. You can't remember how it sounds. You think of laughter. You miss it, not the sound, but the way it made your chest feel lighter. You think of prayer. You stopped praying. Not because you stopped believing. Because the silence never answered. You stand. Stretch your back. Crack your neck. You whisper a name. One of the men you buried last week. Just to break the quiet. It hangs in the air, then vanishes. You start walking, no destination, just movement. Because silence is worst when you're still. Every twig snap underfoot is a mercy. Every crunch of leaves is proof you still exist. You pass a burned out barn. Birds flutter inside. You pause, close your eyes, and for a brief second, you pretend it's peace. Real peace. Not just the absence of war, but the presence of something better. Warmth. Sound. Company. But when you open your eyes, it's gone. The birds take flight, and the silence returns. You sigh, shoulder your rifle, and march. Because the war has paused, but it hasn't ended. Not out here, and not in you. Sleep used to be escape, used to be soft. Warm sheets, a pillow, a room that smelled like home. Now, you sleep on the ground, or in trenches, or propped against a tree with your rifle as your blanket. You fall asleep hungry, cold, half listening for boots in the dark. But the worst part, what happens when you do sleep? Because you don't dream like you used to. No more girls in white dresses, no more wheat fields, no more rivers back home or dinners you didn't finish or porch swings on summer nights. Now, every dream is smoke. You dream in black powder. Gunfire cracks through your skull. You wake up reaching for the rifle that's already in your lap. Sometimes you scream. Sometimes you wake up mid-sentence yelling orders that aren't yours. Sometimes you don't wake up at all, just jolt forward into the grey light of morning and feel like someone else was in your body all night. You dream of blood. Not red, black, thick, slow, sticky. You dream of screams you recognise, voices you've heard before, voices you watch go quiet, and sometimes You dream of people who aren't dead yet. You see their faces warped by fear. You see their last moments even though they're still alive beside you, even though they haven't died yet. But your mind's already decided. It's just waiting for the world to catch up. You told Harris once. He didn't respond. Just looked down and said, "Yeah." That was it. Because he dreams in black powder too. You all do. Every man who's been out here long enough starts losing the line between sleep and memory. You dream of muzzle flashes. Not just the sight, the smell. That sharp, bitter sulphur. It's in your nose even when you wake up. Your blanket stinks of it. Your breath tastes like it. Sometimes you can't tell if you fired your musket yesterday or just dreamed that you did. You had a nightmare last week. Woke up choking. Harris shook. You said you were screaming. You don't remember the dream, just the feeling of being buried, of dirt in your mouth, weight on your chest, trying to dig your way out of something you couldn't name. You checked your boots for mud. They were clean. You don't sleep much anymore. Not by choice. You wait until your body shuts down, until your eyes close without permission, until your brain says, "Fine, you win, just for a minute." And then you slip into that place where the war never ended, because it doesn't. Not in your head. Not when you close your eyes, and not when you open them again. You dream of the boy you shot by accident. You dream of the woman who screamed when you lit her home on fire. You dream of the captain's eyes as he bled out and said, "Tell them I died standing." You dream of standing, of not falling, of watching everyone else go down while you stay upright for reasons that make no sense. You used to believe in fate. Now you believe in luck, and luck doesn't care what you dream. You've had one good dream since you came out here. It wasn't even that good. You were back home, sitting at a table. There was bread and butter, no music, no voices, just bread. You woke up chewing your blanket. You didn't tell anyone, because now dreams aren't stories. They're reminders that there was once something else, and that you can't go back. Even if the war ends, even if you survive, even if you walk back into your house and put your musket down and sleep in a real bed, the black powder stays in your mind, in your lungs, in your dreams. And it never washes out. They said the dead don't feel anything. They're wrong. You do. You feel everything they left behind, and they won't stop following you. Not in the way ghosts do in stories. Not with chains and moaning and blood on the walls. They follow you quietly, like a shadow. Like breath on your neck. Like the weight in your boots you can't explain. You see them everywhere. At first it was just in dreams. Murphy laughing, shirt half buttoned, still holding cards he never got to play. Paul, staring up from the bottom of that hill, mouthful of dirt and disbelief. You'd wake up sweating. Tell yourself it was just memory. But now you see them awake, in the smoke, in the trees, in the corner of your eye. You turn they're gone, but they were there. You swear it. Sometimes you hear your name and think it's them calling. It's not. It's never them. But part of you wishes it were. You talk to them sometimes. You don't admit it to anyone, but you do. A quiet whisper. A nod at the fire. A muttered sorry when you pass the place where it happened. There's a part of your mind where they're still alive. Still walking next to you. Still teasing you. Still arguing about rations. Still spitting into the wind just to be petty. You want them to stay, and you want them to leave, because it hurts. Every time you see their faces, feel their presence, hear their laughter in the wrong places, it hurts like you're watching them die again, and again, and again. There's a boy who died screaming for his mother. He's the worst. He comes at night, when the wind dies down, when the fire's low. You see his silhouette sometimes. Hear the start of that scream, the way it cracked in the middle, like his lungs couldn't take it. You never knew his name, but you remember how he sounded. There's a man whose hand you held until he stopped shaking. He visits in silence, stands behind you when you piss. You don't turn around, because if you look, you might see nothing, and that's worse, because that means you're the only one keeping them here. You remember every man you lost, not in order, not by rank, by detail. The way Baines hummed while digging latrines, the scar across Joe's nose, the way Lyle held his musket like a baby bird, like it might break if he squeezed too hard. You carry those things like medals, except they don't shine. They weigh, they drag behind you when you walk, they rattle in your brain when the world goes quiet. You tried to forget once, told yourself it was better not to remember. You got drunk on root whiskey, passed out in a hole, pissed yourself. When you woke up, Murphy was sitting across from you, in your mind, smiling, saying nothing, just looking. You didn't drink again. You bury them, but they don't stay buried. You cross yourself if you still believe. You stack stones if you can find them. But the war doesn't give graves. It gives reminders. Boot prints, blood trails, half-buried coats with names stitched inside. You walked 3 miles last week with a piece of someone's rib in your boot. You didn't know until nightfall. You held it up in the firelight. Didn't cry, just stared. The dead don't rest. Because you don't. They follow the living, because the living remember. And maybe that's the point. Maybe keeping them close is the only thing that makes this worth surviving. Because if they're still with you, then they didn't die for nothing. Even if it feels like it. Even if no one sends letters to their mothers. Even if their names don't go on plaques. Even if the world forgets. You don't. You can't. They're in your shadow now. In your breath. In the way you grip your rifle even when you sleep. They're not gone, they're yours. Forever. You made it. Somehow. One day, the order stopped. The firing ended. The officers shook hands with men they'd cursed 2 days earlier. And they told you, you can go home. So you did. Or tried to. You walked for 3 days. Took a wagon for part of it. Slept under hedges. Ate whatever you could trade your last cartridge for. Then, one morning you saw it. Your road. Your gate. Your house. Same shape as you remembered. Same dirt. Same trees. Same cracked window your brother swore he didn't break. You stood there for a while. Not crying. Just staring. Trying to figure out why it didn't feel like anything. You pushed the gate open. It creaked. Same sound. You walked up the steps. Every one of them knew your boots. You raised your hand to knock. Then stopped. Because it hit you. You don't belong here anymore. You used to. Once. Back when you were a son. A brother. A boy with a name, not a number. Back before you killed a man with your bare hands. Before you watched your best friend bleed into your lap. Before you learned how to stitch your own skin shut with a piece of wire in silence. But now, you don't know who you are, and neither do they. They opened the door, smiled, cried, pulled you in like nothing had happened, like it had only been a season. They said things like, "We're so proud of you. You're a hero. Tell us everything." You didn't. You couldn't. What were you supposed to say? That you forgot how to pray? That the only smell that makes you feel something is blood on hot metal? That some nights you wake up and your hands are already around your brother's throat because you thought he was someone else? You smiled. You nodded. You ate their food with hands that didn't know how to hold silverware anymore. You slept in your old bed and felt like you were trespassing. Your mother tucked in the blankets. You waited until she left. Then you pulled them off. Too soft. Too clean. You lay on the floor instead. Felt the wood under your back. Closed your eyes and tried not to cry. The town welcomed you like a ghost they didn't realize was dead. They clapped. They gave speeches. They called you our brave boy. But you didn't feel brave. You felt hollow. Like someone carved you out and left just the skin to come home. People asked what it was like. You said, "Hard." They said, "Glad it's over." You wanted to scream, because it isn't. Not for you. Not in your head. You walk down the street and hear a cart clatter flinch like it's gunfire. Someone drops a bucket, your hands shake for an hour. You smell smoke from a chimney and taste ash and blood. There's a barn down the road. Sometimes you go there. Sleep in the loft. It feels more like home than your bed does. You see your reflection in the pond out back. You don't recognize the man looking back. He's thinner. Older. Eyes sunken, shoulders heavy. He doesn't smile. He watches. Waits. Like he's wondering if this piece is just another dream. And part of you hopes it is. Because dreams end. And you know how to survive endings. But this silence, this normal, you're not built for it anymore. You were unmade, piece by piece, and no one taught you how to put yourself back together. They gave you a parade. They gave you a plate of stew. They gave you your room back. But what you needed was someone to look you in the eye and say, "It's okay if you're not okay." No one said that, so you keep walking, chopping wood, helping with chores, answering questions with one-word lies. And when night comes, you lie down on the floor, stare at the ceiling, and wonder, did I really make it out? Or did the war just follow me home? They keep telling you it's over. The war, the marching, the gunpowder, the dying. They say, it's done. You're home now. But nobody tells you what that means. Because out here, in this quiet place, surrounded by fences and meals and people, you still sleep through the night. You don't feel at peace. You feel exposed. Like peace is a coat that doesn't fit anymore. It hangs off you wrong. Too soft. Too bright. Too fake. You walk through town and people nod like they understand. But they don't. How could they? They didn't watch a man bleed from the eyes. Didn't hold someone down while their leg was sawn off. Didn't shoot a kid who looked exactly like your brother because he blinked at the wrong time. They wave. You wave back. They smile. You try. But inside, you're still crouched in a ditch, gripping a blood-wet musket and praying the cannonballs miss. You try to rest. You really do. You lie down at night in a real bed under a real roof and still. Your body won't relax. Death on his own tongue in the middle of a wheat field no one will ever write about. You feel the wind on your face now. Cool, gentle, real. It cuts through the gun smoke, through the rot, through the weight you've been dragging since the first man fell. And you think, what if none of it was real? The parades, the flags, the slogans painted on barn walls in letters too big to ignore. What if it was always about someone else's idea of honour? Not yours. Not the boy next to you with half a jaw. Not the man whose body you slept beside to keep warm. Not the captain whose voice cracked every time he ordered another charge into hell. What if glory was a trick? A mask? Your ears listen for sounds that don't come horses' boots, the long scream that means someone's been hit but doesn't know it yet. You're tense in a world that's gone soft, and it makes you feel like a stranger, even to yourself. You chop wood like it's punishment. You fix fences like they're going to hold back a cavalry charge. You walk into the field every morning and check for movement out of habit. You can't stop scanning. You can't stop bracing. Because you don't trust the quiet. Not anymore. Quiet meant they were getting into position. Quiet meant they were coming through the trees. Quiet meant the scream hadn't started yet, but it was on its way. They gave you a medal. Polished, etched, heavy. You keep it in a drawer. It doesn't mean anything to you. You'd trade it in a second to unsee what you've seen. To unfeel what you feel every time a door slams too hard, or someone drops a plate, or your own shadow passes too fast and your body thinks it's death. You go to church. You sit on the bench. The hymns sound different now. They used to comfort you. Now they just echo. Because you don't know how to sit still anymore. You don't know how to be safe. Because safety never meant anything out there. Safety was a trick. A minute of calm before the next charge. A lull before the next wave. A lie you told yourself to stay sane. And now, peace feels like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And every tick of the clock makes you flinch. You've tried talking about it. Once. You started to tell someone about the first time you had to step over a man crying for his son. You stopped halfway through. Because they looked at you like they were afraid, and part of you liked it. That they were scared. That they felt even an ounce of what you still carry every day. But then you hated yourself for liking it. So you shut up, and smiled, and said you were just tired. They nodded. Of course you're tired, they said. But that's not it. You're not tired. You're adrift. The war taught you how to kill, how to march, how to listen for danger and move without thinking and survive without mercy. But it never taught you how to come back, how to breathe without checking your back, how to laugh without guilt, how to hold someone close without remembering what it felt like when their pulse stopped under your hand. Peace isn't peace when your body thinks it's lying. Peace isn't peace when your mind is still at war. So you keep walking, keep fixing, keep pretending, because everyone else is sure it's over. And you're still waiting for the next shot, the next scream, the next moment when the illusion breaks and the world reminds you soon, you don't belong here. Not because of what you did, but because of what you survived. You took it off, folded it, pressed it flat, put it in the chest at the foot of your bed, right next to your rifle and a pair of boots that'll never quite dry out. You closed the lid, locked it, walked away, but it didn't stay there. Because the uniform never really comes off. It's in the way you walk now, a little too straight. The way you sit, always facing the door. The way you scan every room for exits without realizing you're doing it. You wear it in your posture, in your voice, in your silence. At home, they ask why you never take the coat out. You say you don't need it anymore. But that's not true. You never took it off. Not really. You can still feel the seams on your shoulders, the weight of the straps, the scratch of wool, the press of the stock against your chest when you sleep. You reach for your rifle some mornings before your eyes are even open, out of habit, out of memory, out of something deeper, a reflex your body hasn't unlearned. People say you're different now. They say it gently, like it's a compliment. You've matured. You're serious. You've seen things, and they're right. You've seen things, and they've seen you, in uniform, marching through blood and smoke, digging trenches, carrying a friend's leg in a sack because it's all that was left to return. The uniform may be folded away, but it's still stitched into your skin. You go to church and still catch yourself checking every shadow behind the altar. You hear a thunderclap and brace for incoming. You look at people happy, clean, laughing, and wonder if they'd last a single hour in the mud you lived in. You want to let it go. You do. But letting go means leaving behind the ones who didn't come back. And that feels like betrayal. So, you keep wearing it. Even if no one sees it. Even if it's invisible. You feel it every time you shave. You remember how fast you had to do it in the rain, using dirty water and a broken mirror. You feel it when you button your shirt. Every piece of cloth feels foreign if it's not regulation. You feel it when someone touches you a hand on your shoulder, a hug too tight and your whole body tenses before you can stop it. Because the uniform wasn't just clothing, it was armour. It kept the world out. It made you a number, a rank, a body in a formation. And now that it's gone, you're just a man, with memories you can't carry and silence you can't share. You remember the first time you looked in a mirror after the war. No coat, no hat, just you. You didn't recognise the eyes. Still don't. They've seen too much. More than they should have. You try not to stare too long, because every time you do you think, that man's still out there, in the field, wearing grey or blue, or both, and he's not done yet. You pass other men in town, veterans. You don't speak, but you see each other. Same stare, same posture, same twitch in the jaw when someone drops a bucket. You don't need words, because you both know the uniform never comes off. Not in town, not in bed, not in dreams. It's with you in the barn, fixing tools, in the dark, holding your breath while the wind howls like cannon fire, in the ache in your knee that still remembers that one march through rain and hell. You'll wear it to your grave, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be the only thing the ground won't take from you. You try to remember how old you were, not your age, not the number, who you were, the sound of your voice before it cracked from shouting, the way your hands looked before they got stained and calloused and burned. You try to remember what it felt like to run, just to run. Not because you were being shot at, not because someone yelled advance, but just to feel the wind. You were just a kid. You didn't know anything. You didn't know how far it was to Virginia. Didn't know what a corpse smelled like in the sun. Didn't know how to carry a friend who no longer had legs. You thought it would be simple. Right and wrong. Flags and songs. Marches and medals. Instead, you got blood, mud, silence. They told you to be a man, but they didn't say what kind. A man who can shoot without flinching. A man who can bury a brother without crying. A man who survives while better men fall. You didn't grow up. You disappeared. Piece by piece. Replaced by something colder, harder, hungrier. You try to remember your favourite food. You can't. Try to remember your best friend's laugh. Can't. Try to remember what your own voice sounded like before it learned to yell over gunfire. Nothing. The boy who left home in that uniform? He's gone. And nobody noticed when he vanished. Not even you. You were just a kid. Too skinny for your boots. Too eager with your letters. Too proud to say you were scared every single second. You thought you'd come back with stories. You thought you'd be welcomed home like a hero. But you came back quiet. Eyes low, mouth closed. And that's how they knew. They saw it in your stare. In the way you didn't ask questions. In the way you sat at dinner and didn't touch your plate. They stopped asking. Because they knew. You were just a kid when you left. And when you came back, you weren't. But not because you grew. Because something got ripped out. And nothing filled the space. You go out to the barn some nights. Sit in the corner. Just breathe. Try to find him the kid you were. He's not there. But sometimes you almost hear him. Just for a second. A laugh. A memory. A flash of that first morning coat too big, eyes wide, shoes tied wrong. Then it's gone. You tell yourself maybe he's still in there. Buried. Waiting. Maybe one day you'll find a way back. But for now, you keep walking. You keep eating. You keep living. Because that's the only way to honour the boy you were. The one who marched off with stars in his eyes. And came home with ghosts in his chest. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for listening. For remembering. For honouring the stories of those who never got to come home. Subscribe if you want more. Not because it helps the channel. Because it helps us keep telling the truth. One story at a time. Even if it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Because the only thing worse than war is forgetting it ever happened.